We've got bottoming signals. We need to see momentum shift with a bullish reversal of conditions here with NASDAQ and S&P. We need to see the momentum line turn back to bullish. I talked about with Bitcoin, we got the bottoming signals, then we saw momentum flip, and now we're starting to see some of the trend signals begin to flip with Bitcoin. The S&P and NASDAQ are likely going to follow suit. We did get on Thursday a green awesome oscillator bar. The awesome oscillator and the MACD have both moved to a new low. Again, because they end up forming a divergence, they don't have to. Might just have completed a three-leg push down and that key horizontal support. Again, we're testing 2021 peak on the NASDAQ and on Bitcoin and the 2022 high right after that on the S&P 500. About that previously, but we got to flip the cloud and the bars back to bullish here. You got to get back above the 20 period, the blue line. Bitcoin's already above it. We're here about to get a death cross. And the death cross could be associated with a bottom. And sometimes you get the bottom, as we've had here, before death cross takes place. But could we see an explosive rally back up? Watching, do we get more green bars and momentum continues? Do we flip to a bullish reversal of conditions next week? Do we eventually see the MACD and the awesome oscillator try to go positive and try to get back above that 250 period moving average? NASDAQ can clear the 20 period moving average and flip to a bullish reversal of conditions. We can break the downward trend line and move towards the 50 and the 200 as they get the crossover. NASDAQ daily chart here. And as I've said, in the weekly time frame, this is the NASDAQ here. I think you're going to end up getting these green bars. There's still the risk that we hit these 200-week moving averages, but we're at key horizontal support. If we can rebound back up and start hitting the green again, see the awesome oscillator move into positive territory and end up forming a larger divergence. NASDAQ weekly chart here. Eventually, we got to get back above the 10-week first, the 10-week here, the red line, and then the 20-week. Get back above our 50-week moving average, the green line, which is very close to our 200 period in the daily time frame. Same is true for the S&P. Again, we're probably going to see a green awesome oscillator bar. We'll probably get again, as I keep saying, a breathtaking rebound back up. You're going to see it happen. Already seen an explosive move off of the lows. The risk is we still come down. This is the S&P weekly chart. Risk is we still come down to these 200-week moving averages. I think you got a good shot of a bottom. We've had a big rally this week. Bars are still red, reflecting the trend here in the weekly time frame. We'll see if we can build upon the rally. Moving now into earnings season here. Calm down surrounding the tariffs. Now start focusing on the tax cuts. I think that's going to be the case. If China comes to the negotiating table, we'll likely see a massive rally in the market. We'll likely pause the tariffs with China. China will pause their tariffs, and we'll see things calm down. That's likely going to happen. The media has told us, oh, no, it's over. I keep telling you, you're going to see these pauses, you're going to see these deals, you're going to see people coming to the negotiating table. What's happening? All the things that I keep saying. We get this rally, and it's likely the start of something much bigger. P weekly here. NASDAQ got that green awesome oscillator bar in the daily time frame on the Thursday session. The S&P got it on the Friday session. So again, we're probably going to build upon this and see more green bars. Maybe, again, we've gone to a new low here, as well as the MACD. Maybe we don't end up forming a divergence. I did the same thing. It went to a new low. You don't have to form a divergence. You could. In 2023, the S&P did not go down to the 200-week moving average in 2023, and it didn't do it on other occasions as well. Maybe that's it. And we have the bottom if we can flip the momentum back to bullish. Again, getting back above the 20. Bitcoin's already gotten back above the 20. NASDAQ and S&P are likely going to follow Bitcoin and get back above the 20. Bitcoin's testing the downward trend line. S&P is going to likely go up and test the downward trend line. And if you do that, again, you can come up here and try to flip the cloud, or again, go up to the trend line, pull back a little bit, and try to flip it and go up to the 200 and the 50 as we get the death cross. Bitcoin has already recovered from Trump's Liberation Day. The S&P is likely going to do the same and continue to build upon the rally. So we'll see if we get more green going on as we go forward. You might end up forming a divergence if you end up trying to go back and test the 200-week, but I think it's more likely we're going to invalidate the bearish count here. NASDAQ's already done it. Invalidate the bearish count here and end up getting above this low right here. really marking a 3-leg push lower. And I think that will invalidate the 5-leg push lower, as I've talked about. We're about to get a massive, powerful rally. They're telling us no possible way that's going to happen. The rally we've had this week, we were told that it wasn't going to happen, but yet it did. I think the green bar is suggesting that we're going to build upon the rally and likely see the cloud try to flip at some point next week, with NASDAQ and S&P trying to get a bullish reversal of conditions. That would flip momentum. Momentum turned back to bearish. Remember, I told you we got that doji, and I told you something big was about to happen. The doji's telling us that, and we ended up getting the bearish reversal of conditions. We got this move down. Have been remaining bearish ever since after that doji and that reversal signal happened. If we could turn it back up, we've got to flip the cloud back to green, the bars back to blue, and then eventually try to get above the 20 period and break the downward trend line. Please support the channel with the link directly below that allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the charts, you like the indicators, let me know that by supporting the channel. I need to hear from you in order to make that work. I just put it all up there and ask that you do what you can to help out, because I don't want to sell you things, so I don't have sponsors. I turn those offers down. Follow the link below to take you to a secured site, and you can donate any amount you want or make it a recurring donation. If you do that, I thank you. If you can take a moment to do that, I would really, really appreciate it. You know you want this information and that you like this information. Again, if you watch the video all the way through, save the best for last. I have a lot of interesting indicators showing bottoming signals. Now we need momentum to start to flip. It started to flip on a couple of things, but we need it to flip. Bullish reversal of conditions. Momentum line turned back to bullish, as I've talked about. Here, after the peak, we've been on a sell signal ever since then. Tried to flip momentum right here with the line turning back to blue. The bars couldn't flip. And again, the bars have remained red and bearish. We need to see the signals flip back to bullish. We're going to mark this as a bottom. So right now, the signal here is still bearish. See some very interesting signals later in the video that show bottoming signals are taking place, but now we need the momentum to flip back to bullish. Bars need to turn back to green. I'm going to be talking about the S&P 500 and NASDAQ in this video, but I just want to point out one thing. Bitcoin has now risen back up to the trend line, back above the 50-period moving average for a test. It may pull back to build momentum to break the trend line, but it's moved above Trump's Liberation Day price, the price where we were at. And really, initially, we had a delayed reaction with Bitcoin. The market tanked, and then Bitcoin followed it, but now the market now going to have to play catch up to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has now moved above the Liberation Day announcement, the price action that occurred that day. And again, I just made a Bitcoin video. I'll link it at the end of this video. Some pretty amazing things going on with Bitcoin. But if Bitcoin is going to recover and break out, get back above the 200, the market is likely going to follow. But it is above Liberation Day announcement there. The S&P is likely about to follow. We've seen the same thing with the 10-year yield. The 10-year yield got back above Trump's Liberation Day announcement and has well exceeded it and recovered by 18.5% off of the lows. I talked about the 10-year yield in my last update, and I just want to say this again. It cracks me up. If the yield is dropping, it's horrible. The economy's, crashing. The narrative with the media is if the yield is going down, it's terrible. But if the yield is going up, it's terrible too. You can't win. Right now, it's rising up. Oh, the tariffs. Oh, we're going to have hyperinflation. Well, let me get this straight. If the yield goes down, bonds rise, that's bad. That's going to happen. Eventually, it is good. The yields are going to go down, and the stock market's going to follow it. Likely going to get one more push higher on the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and Bitcoin. And we're probably going to see a melt up as we go into the summer months. The negativity is going to go away. But it just cracks me up because I talked about this, if we're going into, if the market's pricing in a recession right now with this drop, the yields are going in the wrong direction. Media has an answer for that. Oh, the tariffs. Whether the 10-year yield goes up or whether it goes down, they're gonna write a negative story about it. Absolutely incredible. Now, again, recovery we've seen with Bitcoin, the recovery we've seen with the 10-year yield, which currently has a positive correlation with the S&P, and again, both moving above Trump's Liberation Day announcement, likely means S&P is about to do that as well, and the NASDAQ. Now, we just got the inflation data this week. Again, on Thursday, we had the CPI on a year-over-year basis dropped down 2.4%. It's supposed to be 2.6, lower than the 2.8 the previous month for the headline number. The core year-over-year 2.8, lower than the 3% expected, lower than the previous month's reading at 3.1. This is the CPI, came in much better than expected. And then we got the next day the wholesale inflation, the PPI inflation data, the headline number, the year-over-year came in, again, lower, 2.7. It was expected to come in at 3.3. The previous was 3.2. So, again, a huge drop there. The core came in at 3.3, lower than the 3.6, and that is still lower than the 3.4% from the previous month's year-over-year data. Had negative numbers with the month-over-month negative 0.04, negative 0.4%, supposed to be 2% and core negative 0.1, supposed to be 0.3, supposed to be positive. It came in negative. So again, both the CPI and the PPI showing inflation is cooling right now. It will still turn back up. Oh, because the tariffs are going to cause inflation. Tariffs don't cause inflation. Inflation is caused by an increase in the money supply, not by tariffs. Some prices rising is not inflation. Inflation is all prices rising because of an increase in the money supply. Tariffs caused inflation. Well, we sure didn't see it in the 1920s when tariffs were a whole lot higher in the 1920s and the 1930s. One of the biggest periods in the 20s and 30s of deflation with the tariffs. In 2018, we had the tariffs. Inflation went down, not up. Those countries, Asia, Europe, they have really high tariffs. Why are they not in hyperinflation if that is true? I'm saying the yields are going back up. The media is saying, the tariffs are going to cause all this inflation. Well, that's not what happened in other countries where they have high tariffs. That's not what happened in U.S. history when we've had tariffs that have been even at higher levels than where we're at right now. Now, with inflation dropping back down, we saw core move down to a 4-year low. We have the headline number back at the lows. Here you can see the dotted blue line here is the core dropping down to a 4-year low, 2.8%. The headline numbers back at 2.4% where it was in September of 2024. Again, down all the way from the 9% area back in 2022. Here I have the CPI in red. I have the unemployment rate in blue. The unemployment rate is doing what it often does, and that's getting this rounding type of a bottom. You usually see that as we move towards recession. Over the gray shaded areas are the recession, and usually you get this rounding bottom and it starts going higher. As it goes higher, still get inflation moving higher. Even though it's coming down right now, it still may go higher later. It did in 2007. Fed was so worried about inflation when they should have been worried about the coming recession that they told us wasn't going to happen. They've done the same thing here. That's why I keep telling you, I don't think that Powell right now is going to start to lower rates and do emergency cuts. I think that what Trump's doing right now, by having his Liberation Day, we get the launch this last week, and on the very day of the launch, he pauses reciprocal tariffs for the 75 of the countries that to the negotiating table didn't retaliate. And even Europe, we had retaliation announced, but into the future. China did it immediately. We had the launch of the tariffs, and China retaliated the very next day. Europe didn't do that. EU said, well, we're going to do it, in May. Now we've seen this week, right after Trump paused it, well, they said that they're going to do a 90-day pause as well. We're going to see countries come to the negotiating table here, deals hammered out, even China. What happens when China comes to the negotiating table and we see pause with their tariffs. We see a pause with Trump, with the tariffs they're retaliating with, and the tariffs that Trump has placed on them. A massive rally going to happen. Now, what you usually get right before the recession is usually the rounding bottom with the unemployment rate. You start seeing it turn back up, and again, you start climbing as we move towards recession, and then you start seeing inflation rear its ugly head again, and it usually ticks back up, sometimes more aggressively than others, but it does tick back up right there. Every single case in the last four recessions, we've had inflation start to tick back up ahead of the recession, in the recession, or again, sometimes ticking back up ahead of the recession and then going even higher. So while inflation is turning down right now, it is likely going to turn back up. 2018, we saw it begin to turn back up surrounding with the tariffs, and we were told, oh, we're going to have this massive inflation. And a few months later, inflation started to decline. And 2018, when we had the tariffs, the previous tariffs during the Trump administration, and by the time hammered out a deal in 2019 with the tariffs, inflation had gone down in 2018 and 2019, not up. Now, we had the Trump administration do the tariffs. China initially retaliated with the 34% tariff, and then Trump raised it, ending up averaging to 104%. They raised it. They moved it to 84%. Now we've seen another retaliatory tariff, the 34% and the 84% retaliatory tariff from China. We now get 125% from retaliatory tariffs from China. The Trump administration, and again, we had some volatility this last week as the Trump administration clarified that the rate on China went from 104% to 125%. They later clarified that it was actually 145% on Chinese goods. Very next day, and then we've had again the retaliatory tariffs from China of 125%. China says it's not going to go higher, as China is saying that U.S. goods are now no longer marketable in China with this tariff. So we'll likely see the escalation surrounding the retaliatory tariffs. Now Trump's talking about delisting Chinese companies. So again, eventually, China's going to be forced to the negotiating table. Over the weekend, Trump's talking about, I shouldn't say he's talking about, he's walking back the tariffs a little bit. And again, I continue to talk about this, that we're getting the pause with the reciprocal tariffs. Now we're getting Trump walk back some of the tariffs. I continue to point this out. The media is saying, oh no, over. I continue to say we're going to have negotiations. We're going to have deals reached. Trump's purposely being unpredictable to get countries to the negotiating table, and then he's pausing the tariffs or walking them back. And again, exactly the things I've been warning about. Now he's walking back the tariffs on phones, computers, and chips. He's walking back the tech tariffs. So Trump exempts phones, computers, chips from the new tariffs. We're getting Trump walking back tech tariffs on several things. And I keep telling you, this is going to happen. We saw it with Canada and Mexico already. Trump slapped on the tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and then he walked it back, and he said anything covered under the USMCA trade agreement is not subject to the new tariffs. So again, tariffs didn't apply to most things. Now he's, again, walking this back, and he's doing the pause very day of the launch for the reciprocal tariffs. So again, we're seeing the same thing. It's all negotiating tactics. We're going to see a rally of hope surrounding these things. Again, there's been an overreaction to what is going on. The market's going to get a massive rebound. I believe it's going to go make new highs. Now, this story has broken over the weekend, so again, we'll be watching to see what happens early next week. We build upon the rally. In my last update, I talked about the wave count. I talked about the 60-minute chart, the daily chart. I told you if we clear this 5504 area, we're going to invalidate the bearish count if this is supposedly a 5-leg push lower. I think it's a 3-leg push lower. It's corrective. If we can rally further like Bitcoin, get back above the 20-period moving average, that's this blue line right here, invalidate the bearish count by moving above 5504. Again, I think you're going to see something like this eventually happen in the coming months ahead where, let me just move this over so you can see it, where we get this rally. I think you get a 5-leg push higher that ends up taking us higher. And I talked about all of this in my last video. I'll link it at the end of this video. Also, I have my latest Bitcoin video did on Saturday. I will link that at the end of this one. All kinds of bullish signals happening with Bitcoin. And again, the market could very well follow Bitcoin. I talked about the in my last video, the potential death cross that could end up marking a bottom. Oftentimes that is the case. Bottoms are associated with the death cross, especially with Bitcoin. Talk about all of this in the 2 videos I'll be linking at the end of this one. Now, quickly, I'll be watching to see if we invalidate the bearish count. If so, this move is corrective and the S&P is likely going to move to new highs. Need a 5-leg push lower. I talked about that in my last video. Again, the NASDAQ has already invalidated bearish count. If this is 1 and 2 and this is now 3, we've already invalidated it by moving above wave 4, overlapping with wave 1. And even if you say, well, this is this is wave 3 still, it's not wave 4, this big rally back up. Remember, we had the big rally up to the 20 period with Trump pausing tariffs on the very launch day, bringing it down to an across-the-board 10% and then raising them on China. Well, this is not wave 4. Well, you already have another problem, because if this is wave 3, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 is now overlapped with wave 1 in the wave 3. So again, this move is likely corrective. We overlap with this wave 3. If this is wave 4 right here, you have an overlap with wave 1. So again, it's likely we've now completed a 3-leg push lower. And I believe this move is corrective. NASDAQ daily chart talked about this invalidation last week. With Trump's big announcement, pausing the tariffs on most countries for 90 days, that record rally. And again, seeing with that move, bottoming signals developing. The same thing Bitcoin had happened. If you want to see how the S&P is doing some similar things to Bitcoin, which is getting these signals right here, watch my Bitcoin video at the end of this video. Already getting the momentum turning positive for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's gotten above the 20 period. We're likely going to see the S&P 500 do that. So again, I expect momentum's going to go positive, and I expect you're going to start to see some bullish things happen. With the rally that we had, we saw the cloud flip right here. So the cloud got a bullish signal here. We got this bullish bottoming signal. We got the circle suggesting a bottom. We had this back over here. Momentum tried to flip, but we got rejection at the 200 period moving average. Now we have this large divergence on a lot of indicators. Indicators move to new extremes, but again, possibly a bottom, a short-term bottom, or a major reversal more likely. S&P daily. Same thing on the NASDAQ. Now, I told you about these signals back over here. Told you again, it could be a short-term bottom or a major reversal, but we got rejection at that 200 period moving average. Told you with the dojis that we had here, something big was about to happen. We saw momentum flip right back to bearish. The momentum line is turned bearish. We got to see the momentum line turn back to bullish here, but we are getting some bottoming signals here at NASDAQ. And again, we got to do what Bitcoin did and see the momentum turn back into the positive region. We do have bullish bottoming signals though, and again the cloud has flipped back to green right here. Momentum line's got to turn back to green, but we've got the little arrow starting to turn here, and in the gray shaded area with this move back up with the Trump rally on the pause. This is telling us a massive squeeze is about to happen, and it's probably going to be to the upside. It's probably going to be a short squeeze. Bitcoin's already recovered above Trump's Liberation Day announcement. We saw the stock market tank, and we're likely going to rebound above Trump's Liberation Day announcement. Coming back up, coming back up in here into this area here. Going back to the S&P one more time right here. Again, I'm going to be watching the momentum line next week to see if the momentum line starts to turn back to blue. If it starts turning back up, we're getting these bottoming signals. We had that over here, and the momentum line turned back to blue, and it turned back up. Now, it's just showing short-term momentum, but we could see momentum flip, and then all the trend signals begin to turn back to bullish. The ribbon and as of bullish signals starting to show up if we see momentum flip. Need to see it flip intraday as well. Again, we'll need to see the red go away. We'll need to see the green bars and the blue line and the green line and the get back above this ribbon right here. We tried to flip it over here and here, but we stalled at the ribbon. We need to see the background. And again, Bitcoin's getting all kinds of bullish signals. The stock market is likely going to follow Bitcoin's lead. We need to get momentum positive, and we need to see some bullish things happen here. Could we see that next week? Very possibly. We turn this around, again, we're going to start seeing green bars. We're going to start turning this line back to blue and getting back above it. Okay, and then we're going to start seeing the line with the circles here. We're going to get above it. We're going to start seeing it turn back to green. We're going to see the background turn back to green. We're now starting to see these things happen with Bitcoin. S&P is likely going to follow suit. After dropping 9% last week, we rebounded up 5%, but really off of the lows here, we're up over 13%. We're up 13.39% from the low to the high, rebounding back up. We pull back a little bit. Again, we're likely going to make a move to try to take out this trend line. Bitcoin has already rallied up to its trend line the weekend. It trades around the clock. It had a rally Saturday, and it's at that area to break above it in the next couple of days. Or may even do it on Sunday or early, in the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. P's likely going to rally up to this area. Again, then we got to see things flip back to bullish. When we peaked, you had red bars. Everything started turning red. The line turned to red, from green to red. With the dots here, it went from blue to red. And again, everything's been red. So when this flips back to bullish and we start seeing the green bars, then will confirm a bottom. But there's still more work to be done, not just to rally off the lows. We got to start seeing signals turn. We got to start seeing momentum turn back to bullish, and then the trend signals all start turning back to bullish. We got to get rid of the red and start seeing the green if we're going to turn this around. Now again, at the peak, we began to see red happen. We began to get sell signals right after the peak. It's been bearish ever since. Tried to flip momentum right here, couldn't do it. Tried to flip momentum right here, couldn't do it. Reaffirmed the sell signals after the momentum tried to flip. And now we've come back up and we've taken out the cloud, upper boundary of the cloud, a little hard to see right there, this little line right here. And now we have a bullish cloud going on here. So again, let's see more happen to turn it around, though. We've got to start seeing all this red go away and the bars flip back to green. After this sell-off over here, we began to see the green begin to appear. And I am seeing bullish things happen to Bitcoin on Friday, Saturday, and then previously last week we saw a lot of bullish bottoming signals with Bitcoin, and S&P has had some here. We're watching to see, will S&P rally, try to rally back up to the 200 period moving average, rally back up towards the downward trend line that I just showed you a moment ago. When everything flips back to green here, it will likely confirm a bottom, and this will be over. And again, I believe that we're going to now get a 5-leg push higher. I talked about my previous update, new all-time highs. We did see the S&P get some bullish bottoming signals, and again, we're flipping the cloud over here. We're trying to flip the momentum here. Again, last time when we got this, it ended up filling, giving us a counter trend back to the 200 period moving average. Now we have it again, and we're getting this bottoming signal for the cloud, as I mentioned. Have done a pretty good job of marking turns. Again, it's just looking at short-term momentum, but again, the peak over here, rebound, attempted to flip it here, couldn't do it, then flipped it here to a new high in February, just to the trend line of resistance, got the negative divergence, and we saw it flip back to bearish. Again, right after the peak, flip back to bearish, tried to flip here, couldn't do it, and again, reaffirmed the previous bearish signal. Work to be done, we got to get back above the dotted red line right here. We got to get back above this line right here, representing the swing move. It's negative right now. Get the bars back to green, so more work to be done. But again, if we can rally higher to fill the gap up here, and try to rally to the trend line or to break the trend line, then again we could start seeing signals begin, trend signals. We're seeing some positive bottoming signals and some momentum trying to shift here, but we need to see trend signals and more momentum signals begin to turn. Some beautiful signals here, and again, possibly some bottoming signals in place now here with Trump's rally here on the launch tariffs, where we had that record rally on the S&P. Told you we were going to rally back up to fill these gaps. We filled this one up here. We're going to be on our way to fill this other one here very soon. Likely get a V-shaped type of recovery, three-leg push lower. So again, I told you this was going to happen. This rally we've had this last week, we were told by the bears there's no way that's possibly going to happen. The herd had lost all hope. They said no hope. I told you we're going to get a rally of hope. I see things calm down. We got to flip trend signals. We got to flip things back to green. See if we can do that next week. So I'll be watching to see if we can start flipping some of my signals back to bullish. We can build upon the rally off of the lows. I am getting bottoming signals this week on the S&P 500. I got a bullish arrow here, got a bullish bottoming circle right here. This one marked a counter trend, and then we got the sell signal resuming from back up at the top, and again going into the high there. A couple of sell signals. Got to get back above the line. We got to flip the cloud back to green, and again, Oscillator's now ticking higher. So can we turn this around? We're seeing some green bars, really suggesting sideways. If we can build upon it and flip it, if this signal can play out. But I am getting some of these bottoming signals. Get momentum signals turning and then flip the trend signals. S&P daily right here. The S&P 500 is likely going to do what it did in the past and either bottom at the 200 if we haven't bottomed yet. But again, we very well may have already bottomed in 2023. We never reached the 200-week moving average. We did in 2022. We did in 2020, but in 2018, again, we never reached it. In 2016, we never reached it. But back here in 2011, we did. So we've had times where we've reached the 200-week moving average and bounced. Other times we didn't reach it. Could be that we haven't reached it. We don't reach it in 2016, 2018, and 2023. Last video, I talked about the trend lines could be changing. Link that video at the end of this one. Moving into a bear market now, you got to take out that 200-week moving average and then stay below it. That's what we've done. Even in the bear markets, we've moved to it, and we bounced off of it, moving back to the 50-week moving average. Here we dipped below it, but moved back to the 50-week, got back above it. So if we do test it and can't get back above the 50-week moving average, that would be bearish. If we end up getting back above the 50-week, like we did over here in 2023, after the 2023 low, after 2022 low, we ended up getting back above it. We bounced off the 50 at the 2023 low. But again, 2020, we bounced off the 200 here, ended up getting back above the 50. In 2011, we bounced off the 200, got back above the 50. So again, can we get back above the 50 if we do end up going there? And if we don't, then again, like in 2018, do we just get back above the 50 without going below the 200 period moving average? 2016, do we just get back above the 50 without going below the 200-week moving average? So again, we very well could have a bottom on our hands, three-leg push lower, not reach the 200-week moving average.